Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge in the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2023 Travelers Championship. This is my Before the Lock show. We're going to go over everything you need to know before you lock in those final DFS lineups and maybe some final bet thoughts. And I'm going to dive into ownership projections. We're going to talk about weather, as there is a bit, maybe some flight advantages. So all that said, we should have a really quick show here. Thank you for stopping by. Give me about 20 minutes and we'll get through all this information. Let's go talk a little golf. Actually, let's go talk a little weather. So your weather forecast does not look good. I did not see this coming. But again, it's weather and things can change. But right now they're stating that we could have rain every day. And what makes me more nervous is possible electricity in the air on Saturday, Sunday. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Also, I noticed the temperature tomorrow morning is going to be a little bit cooler than expected, but other than that, we should be all right. We're going to dive into Wind Finder and look at the winds because I think there might be a slight advantage. All right, so I've actually hopped over to Wind Finder. I thought we'd do this first because before I get into the guys that I'm interested in, the AM PM flight. And you're going to want to go to Wind Finder and, of course, pull up this Middletown, Connecticut. It is right below, I believe, Cromwell, very close to where the guys are playing. And I'm looking at the super forecast, which breaks it down hour by hour. And from what I just did, I just updated this so we have the latest and greatest. But again, you're going to have to kind of keep an eye on these. It looks like this cell that's coming in. All right, so you're going to notice supposedly in the morning right now, and these guys are teeing off at 6:45 a.m. Eastern local time. Right, they're stating they're going to have, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours if you're in the morning, possibly we'll say 2.5, 3 hours of dryness. And then the rain could pop in around 11 a.m. And then it really looks like it's going to hit in the afternoon. Also, the winds could gust up at the highest at 4 p.m. at 26. But things always change. I mean, typically, always we know that it is calmer from a wind perspective almost all the time early in the morning. But the only thing you could state is, well, hey, it's going to be a little cooler. I mean, it's still going to be 59 degrees. It's not like it's in the 40s or low 50s as in ball flight travel. But you could make a little argument, but it's honestly what it's stating is it's not going to get any higher than 64 degrees tomorrow over there in Connecticut. So I am kind of interested in guys in the morning, and also the reason why is then the guys are getting rain. So if you go out in the afternoon, it looks like you're getting most of the rain, and then also you're going to get it here in the morning. And in the afternoon, yes, could be a little more windy, but they're saying, on average 8 to 10, but, could gust again up to 23, but at least they've got sun. Also, they'll be up to 80 degrees. Ball flies a little further. So that's really all I'm going to look at is the Thursday, Friday. That's more what I'm concerned about, guys getting to the weekend and getting in a good position. Okay, let's jump back now, look at some guys that I'm interested in the AM PM flight. Okay, so let's go look at a new model with a focus on the guys that have early afternoon start. So on Thursday morning, they'll be teeing off in the morning and then, of course, playing in the afternoon on Friday. And I changed this model a little bit to be a little more aggressive on the scoring side because of the wet conditions. Typically, these guys love it when the greens are nice and receiving and wet, and they're going to be able to fire a pin. So I think it's going to be maybe possibly a little more higher scoring than we were maybe thinking. I still like the guys with the good drives. What does that mean? They typically hit fairways or the first intermediate cut before they get to the rough, and then they hit the green on their approach. That is kind of a combination of what good drives are. I actually threw a little more ball striking in there at 15. Approach, I put it up to 30. Putting at 10, and then this is where the scoring part comes in. 25% of the model is on birdies or birdie or better gains, so getting those scoring opportunities. And then these are all the morning tee times of the guys that I like. Of course, there's a lot more. This is 20 players that I'm going to be looking at to build some of the GPP lineups. Xander, who I was already on. Wyndham Clark's a change. Griot, I was already on. Patrick Cantlay. So Cantlay and Shoffley, if you guys remember, were my starting guys, skipping the top 3 most expensive. Dylan Wu, I was already on. Straka's new, right? He won under some conditions at Honda. So I kind of feel like he can play in the weather. You got Benny Martin, Shane Lowry's a bit more of a mutter in the morning. Of course, he won his, 2019 Open at, Portrush? Andrew Putnam, who I was already interested in. Shank, I've seen do well in the weather. Michael Kim. Will Gordon, I like him now from a scoring perspective. Max Homa, I've always feel like he could definitely handle himself in conditions. And when he won the second Wells Fargo at TPC Potomac over there in Maryland, Washington, or where the heck it was, If you remember that tournament, it was quite a bit wet conditions. Andrew Novak, I was already on, so now we're getting some cheap plays for you. Ches Reavie, who's a past winner here, been playing really good golf, so we'll stick with him. Great iron player. David Lipsky's a little bit new. Of course, I told you Kevin Streelman, from a stroke game perspective at this tournament, has done very, very well. Harris Shingles also has handled himself in the weather, and of course is a past champion a couple of years ago. Neesmith, just from modeling perspective, you see on a good drives. The putting and all the scoring side is a little lackluster. And then Brendan Todd, I kind of forgot he had some really nice outings over the last couple tournaments. So also has an early morning tee time. So that's kind of be the top 20 guys that I'm going to put together now. That's not my whole GPP, that I'm throwing in. I'm saying I'm going to create maybe 5 to 10 lineups using this player pool. And then, of course, the player pool that I showed you guys yesterday, which had like 30 players with more of like the Russ Henleys were in that, who's got an afternoon. Because it is weather, things could change. I will not put all my eggs in one basket. I would also advise you not to. But if somehow this happens and you've got a nice little tight AM 20 guys, I'm not saying use the exact, but you could have a real nice maybe turnout if it all works out on our favor. Okay, let's go jump over and look at some ownership projections. Okay, so I've hopped over to Fantasy National, and what you are going to want to notice here is we have a nice already 8,600 lineups already generated. We're going to focus on this number over here is what is typically the most accurate to get our ownership projections. The number one most owned player at this moment at almost 23%. No shocker, Scotty Scheffler. So they are not following my narrative that some of the top dogs might be a little burned out and already have an eye on taking a nice 2 to 3 week break before they head over across the pond to play in the Scottish Open to get prepared for the Open. Kind of shocked that Rory, I'm not really sure. Scotty has not had the best course history here, where Rory actually has contended. I mentioned he was round 2 leader. I believe that was last year. So just, kind of a discount savings if you're looking to make a change there. Then you got John Rahm coming in at third, which I feel like has been a little bit lackluster since him winning the Masters, which, I can understand that. But he's at almost 19%. So again, these guys I'm passing on. First person I'm going to land on is Xander. And then you've got Patrick Cantlay coming in second, chalkiest. Victor's up there at 18%, which I told you, for whatever reason, I'm kind of off him this week. Like I said, I have nothing amazing. Of course, he just won the Memorial, but hasn't had the greatest track record here. And I really don't think I have to lean on his exemplary ball striking. I'd rather have even guys with a little better putting and short game. Finau's at less than 10%. Funny enough, Morikawa, I've been kind of hearing that, my thought process on Tom Kim and Morikawa seems, and again, I have not listened to anybody else this week. I've not had time, but I guess a lot of people are thinking the same thing I am, which is kind of interesting. I mean, we haven't seen a ton out of Morikawa. We really saw that he had a pretty decent Open and that he gained with the putter finally, and everybody's jumping in. So, we'll see how that all works out. Of course, he was on my cover. The top 2 guys from an expensive point that I think should do very well here is Colin and Tom Kim, as you know if you listen. I like Tommy, again, with his tee time and also can deal with the elements, right? Came runner-up behind Shane Lowry in that Open in 2019. Wyndham Clark, pretty low. I guess everybody is kind of under the narrative, which, you just won a major. And I think they're also going off what happened last time when he had a win. He missed a cut, but that was at the PGA. I also have not really did a lot of, I don't remember. Well, let's go take a look at this. I'm just saying I don't remember off the top of my head how he did at this course in the past. But a lot like looking at, like I mentioned, Max Homa, it's kind of hard to, look at these guys and pigeonhole because their game has changed drastically, at least in what we're seeing and what they've been doing in results. So he's played it 5 times, 3 missed cuts. So he's at a 15th and a 35th. So I don't know. Like I said, if he's literally less than 5% owned and also has the better tee time that I'm going with right now, I have no problem about playing some Wyndham Clark. Ricky's at 12. Okay, we're going to move through to some of the guys that I'm just looking at. Fitzy that I'm out on this week, just because of kind of Jekyll Hyde play. But again, we always kind of think of him as a mutter. But I think you're going to really score here. Homa, I mentioned yesterday with the Fortinet kind of comps, his back-to-back wins there at 6.5. I will be playing a bit of that. Nobody wants JT. I'm curious. Let me know if you guys, anybody bet him out there at 75 to 1. I didn't pull the trigger. I might regret that because, like I said, these guys are only just a hair trigger away from being, winning a tournament, especially JT with his talent. Also, Sun JM, a lot of people are kind of seeing what I've been seeing there, very sporadic. This one's got me very interested, and I have no idea why Hideki Matsuyama is almost at 19%. Let's go take a look. Okay. So I'm guessing, and I did not listen to the Pat Mayo show, but I'm guessing Pat sold everybody on because, hey, look, Hideki lost 6 strokes putting. That typically doesn't happen, even though it happened a couple tournaments ago. But look what he did with his irons and losing a little bit. I don't know. That's got to be the only thing I can think of on why his ownership is that high. I think we're also forgetting that Hideki's been having a hard time keeping the ball in the fairway. And that is illustrated right here. I told you he's been testing out drivers left and right, kind of like a mad scientist. So you put those two elements, you could be the greatest iron player, but if you can't putt and you can't keep it in the fairway at the Travelers, you are going to struggle. So I will be definitely off Hideki if it comes to burn me. It is what it is. Cam Young, nobody wants to touch. No putting, also struggling with a lot of different areas. Jason Day, a lot of missed cuts going on. So again, not that he could not play very well here. Sahith had a chance to win this thing last year, but also has been struggling to keep the driver in play. Shane Lowry, I mentioned, I wasn't really on him because he just hasn't been scoring, but I could see a lot of things that Shane could do here that could be very good. I mean, he keeps the ball in play, the irons. We just need that putter to activate, and we could have something. I mentioned Tom Kim. Funny enough, people are jumping on this. And again, just like Morikawa, you can make a lot of reasons not to play these guys. We haven't seen a lot of good form over and over. We've just seen all of a sudden this resurgence of what we thought these guys were, or at least should be. And so everybody is excited to play them. Siwoo Kim, right? You got the Pete Dye. Every time he plays Pete Dye, everybody's pretty interested. I made the case that this is not, I don't think it's a standard Pete Dye course, even the Wyndham. I don't think, they really challenge you visually. I don't know. It was also a redesign or whatever. It wasn't a full start, from ground up Pete Dye course. So my buddy Russ Henley, I'm just going to look at the guys now that I've got pretty chalky for Russ. It's kind of funny. I noticed I did not bet Russ Henley, and I have no clue why I did not. But when I ran a comp course model again. I redid one just to see, and I put all the courses that demand like very tight, like Wailea where they played Sony, Colonial where they played Charles Schwab. We just had the Harbor Town, of course, where they played RBC Heritage. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Oh, TPC Southland where they played at FedEx St. Jude. Long story short, I think it was about 6-7 courses where I know that it is a very strategic, tight course, which again River Highlands plays. And Russ Henley came up number one if you looked over the past 24 rounds. That's what then made me think, hey, did I bet Russ, right? I always bet Russ. I did not pull the trigger for some odd reason on Russ, but I did bet him 35-1. I'm not really happy about that. I'm guessing his odds were probably 50-60, but I got really good odds on a lot of other guys. But if Russ somehow went out and won and I didn't have some money, I might have feel pretty guilty. All right, moving along. Keegan, little falling out of love. Corey Connors is back up there a little bit. Harris English, past winner, as we mentioned. Danny McCarthy, I told you I bet. I'm pretty excited. I think he could do very well here. It's funny, Minwoo Lee had a great finish, and maybe people are on the same bandwagon as me, as play the guy in majors, the players, but it seems like when it's just a regular Joe Schmo tournament, almost like a Brooks Koepka, he doesn't really show up. Gary Woodland, we don't need, like I said, don't need your great ball striking and lack of putting or short game. Brian Harmon, I told you guys he's just been amazing here. So he's at 10%. All right, let's kind of scroll down a little bit more. I like Seamus Power, but I think he must have an afternoon tea time because I don't know why in my mind, maybe because he's from Ireland, that I think he can handle the elements that might be coming. But I might have to throw him in that player pool of 20. I got Eric Cole and then Austin Eckler, which I even heard on a couple other shows. Everybody is all over this. I told you guys, watch out. 10% ownership is not bad from a DFS side. But whenever for whatever reason, when everybody jumps on a bandwagon, bets them, plays them in DFS, touts them up, they'll go out and miss a cut. Griot, I like that. Less than 5%. I think this is a perfect Griot course. I mean, he just showed it, went into Charles Schwab. So that is very interesting. Patrick Rogers didn't have the tee time. And I don't know if I picked him, but I did bet him, I mentioned. KH Lee's kind of falling a little bit. I love like Andrew Putnam a lot, less than 8%. Seabass at 5%. I think he could be a really good play here. Oh, there's that Bo Hosler. I forgot. So that could be your sneaky contrarian at the low 7,100. He's at 1%. And I kind of went through and we looked at this. I'll talk about it again just in case you missed a preview show when I kind of stumbled, right? I mean, bents his best putting surface, almost gains a full stroke on the field. Trying to see what he does in conditions. I mean, that's just all about wind. We don't have a wind tracker. And what started maybe thinking of it, because TPC River Highlands is the second shortest course that the PGA Tour plays. Pebble Beach would be number 1. And I just remember what he did at Pebble Beach. And then when I started to go through this, also I forgot that, he had a second place a while back at the Travelers, Shriners. Where else did I see that I liked the comp? There's Pebble Beach again, Fortinet, RBC Heritage, the Amex, the RSM, Charles Schwab, Fortinet. So what I started to notice is that Bo Hosler, when he has actually had good outings, kind of fits into this track. Maybe it's because he's got, you got to remember, guys, we don't need 350 yards off the tee. A lot of these guys are going to be hitting less than a driver. So whenever you go to these courses that don't allow you to take advantage of the driver, hence why I'm not so eager to play a Scheffler, a Rory, and a Rahm, because I don't need their driver, to be that crazy weapon, because they can't use it as much. Now, don't get me wrong, there's going to be a couple of par 5s here that, they could definitely have a good chance to reach into because of their driver. But other than that, I think that weapon's kind of nullified, is the simplest way to put it. All right, so I like Bo Hosler. That was really long-winded. CT Pan, talked about him, bet him, like him. Nate Lashley, I like 3%. I got Hubbard. Well, people did recognize him. I thought he was kind of falling on, but at 12%. Michael Kim's at 3. Streelman at a little less than 5. Ches Reavie, little up there for everybody's favorite pick, I guess, at 67. So you could pivot to Wu or Andrew Novak. Little less ownership, and I think they could do fine here. Carson Young at 5%. And Smell the Glover if you really want to get off the beaten path. And like I said, I like Lucas. Great ball striker. He fits the Russ Hindley kind of griot model of just hits it a ton of fairways. One of the better ball strikers. Also has won a U.S. Open, if you're curious. But you can see accuracy at almost 67%. Hits it about almost 300. This is the problem right here is the putter. And the irons are usually very good. Gains off the tee typically. And then long as he doesn't do this, but he has won at John Deere. That was his last win. And I'm just trying to... So Wells Fargo, that's bent. Bermuda, I have no clue. He gained 3 strokes. He just really did it everywhere else. So anyways, I like Lucas Glover down there at 6,400. I told you I got a crazy 700-1 bet on him. So hopefully that comes to fruition. Okay, I think that's enough. You got a good understanding of ownership, where guys are coming in, also some pivots, and let's go wrap this thing up. All right, guys, thank you again so much for spending some time with me. I hope that helps you. Like I said, the weather kind of caught me off guard. I didn't really see that coming in. Again, what to keep it on it is weather, things change. I told you that, I am going to build some AM/PM flights or, teams, but I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. Things can change. You never know. It could flip the other way. So, but when you do see the weather and you do see at least what's being predicted from a weather side, that there is a possibility there could be an advantage, I think you always got to take advantage of that. Do me the honor, as always, click that like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. I'm literally like 50 subs away from hitting the 2,000 mark. And as always, if you'd like, check me out on Twitter at DFS Golf Guru. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy the Travelers. I'm still excited about the tournaments that are upcoming because we're going to have a lot better chance to hit some long odds. But then also you're going to be paying for like a Russ Hindley or a Griot or whoever that is up there at the top of the leaderboard, because we're not going to have all these top 50 players. All right, guys, take care. Talk to you later.